wrong position, why don't expatriate coaches succeed outside of New England? The guys dive deep into punting highlights and who can't make the playoffs to try to ease the pain of loving losers. Luckily, our special guest won't let them forget it. All that and more this week on Just Press Play.
Pregnant ladies and little kids better get the hell out of the way because I am running. I'm like Forrest Gump, dude. I am running. Who also got covered by Aretha Franklin in RSPECT. Find out what it means to me. I want you each to use ombudsman in a sentence next week. I got one for you. My name is Kevin, the official ombudsman of the Just Press Play podcast. You like apples?
All right, we are here. It's another episode of the JPP, and I want to go ahead and say, a lot of times you hear those NFL guys complain about a short week and having to play on a Thursday, but here we are. We sat through the whole first week of NFL football, and we're back, and we even have a guest this week. We got Tony Green joining us. What's up, Tony?
What's up, Kev Bo? What's happening?
Man, just another good day. We got Pops with us too. LJ's not here, but we got a good squad. I think we got a fun episode. What you think, Pops?
I do too. I think we got an all-star squad. I wish LJ was here, but we're going to do good.
All right. Well, before we get started, I want to go ahead and real quick, the presenting sponsor for the podcast, for the Just Press Play, is MyBookie, and they are the best way to get your bets in for this NFL season or college season. And we're about to spew a bunch of knowledge. It might all be terrible, but a lot of thoughts are coming
right.
out. There's gonna be some information thrown at you. You may take all of it and go the opposite way, but do it at MyBookie, and you'll end up liking your chances. So let's go ahead and get straight into it. So we recorded Sunday night, Dad, before the games, or it was at halftime. And actually, while we were recording, we talked about how the 12 God, Aaron Rodgers, was getting hurt and carted off the field. And we thought he might be done, maybe like that Patriot season when Tom Brady got hurt and Matt Castle had to step in. We thought week 1, Aaron Rodgers might be done. And then, boy, he wasn't done. What was your thoughts? You watched a little Aaron Rodgers. What'd you think?
Oh my God. I mean, he goes off the field and he's really limping. And not only, I think we talked about a little, I just don't want to see him get hurt. I want to see Aaron Rodgers play. I think he could be the best.
I'm not even a Packer fan.
But Aaron Rodgers is amazing. And then he comes back on the field like Willis Reed, which is a little before your time, Kev. They
even mentioned that, like Collinsworth and Hal Michaels, like Willis Reed moment here.
Well, and I heard him bring up, was it Paul Pressey that they pushed out in a wheelchair, or Paul Pierce?
You always call Paul Pierce.
I always call Paul Pierce Paul Pressey. I don't know why, but Paul Pierce.
I don't even know who Paul Pressey was. He probably played in the little shorts.
Was it Tulsa, Tony? Wasn't it Paul Pressey?
Yeah, Paul Pressey was at Tulsa, yeah.
And he was a hell of a player, right?
Yes.
Okay, he wasn't Paul Pierce.
Imagine.
But
yeah, and Pressey, him and Mike Anderson, they were the 1-2 combination.
Was Pressey there with Mike Anderson?
I think he was.
Wow, look at that knowledge.
Anyway, as we digress.
But, as long as nobody fact checks me, I'm okay, right?
That's right.
We're good. Just don't go Google it.
Actually, you can Google it.
Yeah.
But Rodgers had a little help from who was that? The tight end? No, it wasn't Graham.
No.
Who was it? He threw one
Rodgers
to
didn't throw to a tight end.
Randall Cobb.
Oh yeah.
He threw that one to Randall Cobb that he took to the house. That was a lot of Randall Cobb, which there was some suspicion that he had an injury, but he looked good to me.
Yeah, and and I tell you what, that's something
between those two.
Yeah, that's what you're right, Kevin. That connection, you can't discount. Cobb's been there for 8 years, and Rodgers made an anticipation throw there, knowing that Cobb was breaking to the inside. Cobb breaks the inside, and the Chicago safety, all of a sudden, he's 3 steps on the other side, and Cobb turns around and does a Stephon Diggs and says, "Oh shit, it's open. I think I'll go."
Yeah,
and
there's no one here.
Poof, there's 70 yards and a touchdown.
That was, you're so right. Like before Cobb even, it was like Cobb and Rodgers both thought at the same time, oh, I should step this way. And he anticipated through it. I don't think there's another quarterback. Now, there's a few good ones out there, but Aaron Rodgers is just different. And I wanted to, we talked about on the last episode, Dad, how the fandom of being a Cowboy and a Razorback can be kind of tough.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there thinking, man, it must be tough to be a Bears fan. You just watch, you had a 20-point lead, and boy, that Khalil Mack trade was looking amazing. That guy was balling. And then Aaron Rodgers comes back on one leg, but then I realized, oh, wait, he's done that before against the Cowboys in the playoffs. Yeah. And I was like, oh, never mind. It still sucks to be a Cowboys fan. And then not only did Aaron Rodgers do that to us once before, but then the year after that, he beat us in the divisional round when he makes the best throw I think I've ever seen to Jared Cook. Aaron Rodgers is just freaking amazing.
Well, it's somebody that was at our draft that kind of got a little giggle when he got picked. Mr. Geronimo Allison reached out there and made. Now, did Rodgers lay that pass in there?
That throw?
Amazing.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, no doubt.
But now, Allison did catch that ball with a guy all over him. I mean, that was an amazing catch by Allison.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it.
I mean, Allison looked great. And you think about the third receiver for Aaron. I've heard people say, oh, you always want that third receiver for Rodgers. He's always good with him. I think it's not really the receiver. It's just Rodgers is so good. Any guy wearing green and yellow, if 12 is the quarterback, I want him on my team.
And with reference to Mr. Allison, I still think that was taken too high in the draft that we were in that night.
Did you see who was snickering?
Yeah.
Can you figure it out, Ken?
Because he was in the right place at the right time. And you had to wait 3.5 quarters for that to happen. And so, that's really not what you want to do if you got to start a guy like that.
What? He had a guy on a bum knee, barely control the ball. And Allison goes and gets it. I think he's a stud.
Kid is an athlete.
Speaking of guys that went a little too early, and we won't go too far in y'all's draft, but I heard somebody in your draft was real high on Jimmy Graham because every year, it seems like for the past 5 years, Aaron Rodgers has a new tight end that, oh my goodness, when Aaron Rodgers has this weapon, it's going to be amazing. It was Jared Cook, then Martellus Bennett, and now did Jimmy Graham played Sunday? I didn't see him, I don't think, at all, but I think he was played.
There. That's called a decoy. He played the decoy. But Jimmy Graham, and this is a anomaly every time they get somebody. You're right, Kevin. All of a sudden, this is the next coming, and I think you can go back to an old Little Rock guy. Keith Jackson may have been the last guy that was a successful tight end in Green Bay. But look what Jared Cook did last night. He shredded the Rams
great
defense.
Boy, he did.
You never saw that at Green Bay. You just never saw that. It's just not a part of their offense. But they keep getting guys, and people keep drafting.
So have you just found the one weakness that Aaron Rodgers has, that he cannot make a tight end look like an all-star? Is that the weakness?
It's not that he can't. You don't have to.
Well, okay.
Well, so I have a theory on that. I think what it is it's not necessarily that he can't make a tight end good, but for whatever reason, the Packers are so quick to cut a guy. And you watch it. We just talked about it with Randall Cobb and what Jordan Nelson was for so long. And now Allison's been there. Geronimo's been there for like 4 or 5 years now. It's the chemistry. Rodgers wants to know where your next step is, and he can anticipate as good as anyone out there. And they just bring in a new fancy toy for him, and he's like, well, I don't know what he's going to do next. And Rodgers likes to know everything. Right now he doesn't know what Jimmy Graham's going to do.
Yeah. I'll say this. It's almost like Green Bay and New England are the alternate universe. You remember that Star Trek episode when they went back and there's a Spock and there's an anti-Spock and there's a Kirk and there's an anti-Kirk? That's the same thing with Green Bay and New England. New England, they take athletes and make it work in their system. It doesn't matter who it is. Dion Lewis, LeGarrette Blount,
Mike Patricia.
We talked about
Mike Patricia.
And Martellus. yeah. Anyway, Michael Bennett, Martellus Bennett was good with him. But you take Green Bay, they can't do that. They've got to have guys that are 3, 4, 5, 6 years, and they just become good. And they don't do that turnaround. They're on the opposite ends of the spectrum on that.
Like if Randall Cobb goes somewhere else, I know he's really fast and a good athlete, but I don't know if I'm all over him. But if he's got Aaron Rodgers as quarterback, there's just something about it. It's just like Jordan Nelson. If Jordan Nelson was still on Green Bay, I'd be all over him because there's just something about the chemistry they have. Yeah. But interesting, you brought up New England, so I kind of wanted to put y'all with this question and see where y'all had to go with it. If probably the two best quarterbacks in the game right now, I'd probably say it's Rodgers and Brady, maybe Brees. But I want to ask you, any quarterback in the league to win one game, you have one game, you're drafting one quarterback. Who you taking?
Current quarterback?
Yeah, current. Who you got, Tony?
I'm going with Aaron Rodgers just because he can make more throws than Tom Brady. I think Brady is much more about that system and being in that offense. And Aaron Rodgers and you saw that in that second half. He's pretty cool. I will say that second half was made better because of Chicago's inability to stay in a game plan. However, he does that all the time. He's done it to the Cowboys, as you mentioned a couple of times. He does it to everybody. He can just make those different throws. I think Brady, at this point in time in his career right now, if he doesn't have the tool sets around him, he's got to take a plan and a number of plays and make that happen. Rodgers, you could throw something different at him. He can still make a throw.
Yeah, and to your point with Rodgers and Brady now, Rodgers, there's no question with Brady at however old he is now, 42. Rodgers is more athletic than he is. He can get out of the pocket. He can move around. And his arm, just plain and simple. Brady's mind is there with anybody, but Rodgers' arm just makes throws that I've never seen before. Dad, who are you going with?
Well, I want something you're mentioning that Tony said. Shannon Sharp was very clear on who he thought the best quarterback was. And his quote between Roger and Brady, he says, "There's not a throw that Tom Brady can make that Aaron Rodgers can't, but there are several throws that Aaron Rodgers can make that Tom Brady only dreams of making." And I think that might be a hair-strong dreams of making, but I think that to both your point, Aaron Rodgers can make every throw in the book. Any way, any shape, form, or fashion.
Well,
he can put touch on it. He can drill it on a frozen rope. He can put some air under it. He throws a good deep ball. I mean, he can do it all. And that is why that would be the guy that I would take as my one quarterback is Aaron Rodgers.
Well, and to Shannon Sharp's point, like we talked about a second ago, but the Allison throw and then that throw that Rodgers put on the money to Jared Cook in the playoffs when they beat the Cowboys 2 years ago. He's like fading to his left a little bit, and I don't know how far that was, 45 yards perfectly where Cook could still get his 2 feet.
Yeah, he threw that across his body, didn't he? He was going to the left and threw
There's just things that Rodgers does where I've never seen. I mean, y'all have watched more football than I have, but I've never seen a person make throws that he can make.
Well, that makes me think about another guy, and you mentioned him earlier in something we emailed Kevin, but Matthew Stafford was a guy that came in that still probably is considered to be able to make every throw, right? Mm-hmm. I mean,
well, I want to get to Stafford in just a second. I have one more. So my last Aaron Rodgers question for you is: so we did one game, but if you had to go for a full season, week one, Aaron Rodgers has now had we don't know what his injury is now. He says he's playing for the Vikings, but they don't know. But he's had a few injury problems, and he's had 2 different shoulders go out on him for a season this year. So we're at week 1 of this year. You can pick one quarterback. Are you still going Rodgers?
Tony?
Right now, yes. I still go with Rodgers right now. Now, if we were going to take Tom Brady at 32 versus Aaron Rodgers at 32,
it might be a different story.
I'm taking Brady because at that point in time, he had the ability to make some throws and he could make people miss.
It's Tom versus time. It's Tom versus time.
Yeah. So Tom versus time. That's exactly right. Yeah. As it is with all of us, because I can tell you at 42 years old, I know Dr. Lift could shoot a 15-foot jumper. I'm not sure he could hit it today, but I think that, the one thing we didn't talk about in this comparison is Rodgers' ability to run. Brady has never been a running quarterback. Now, they did scheme for him back when he was younger for 1 yard, 2 yard dives. They used to do a lot of that. He used to get 3 to 5 touchdowns per year there at the goal line. But Aaron Rodgers can run. He can flat run. And that's something Brady has never been able to do. Now, Kevin, I think you the point of the injuries that Rodgers has is a factor of that, of his,
right.
I can go get this and get out of the pocket and run. And that makes him more susceptible, which I would pose to your question for this year. I take Rodgers. For a career, I take Brady.
I'm probably with you. You are right though. There's things that Rodgers can do if it's 3rd and 10 and no one spies him. He is without question. He can go get it. Now, I do remember Brady did. If y'all remember, it's probably 7 years ago now, maybe more. But Brady did at one time juke out the Hall of Famer Brian Urlacher. You remember when he hit him with that little move? No, but Brady has never had the speed that Rodgers is deceptively, and it's a typical adjective that gets thrown on a certain color of skin, but deceptively athletic is Aaron Rodgers, no doubt. I mean, he can get out and all of a sudden have 15 yards, but yeah.
And I'll tell you, the most impressive thing I found out about Aaron Rodgers Sunday night, that he's dating Danica Patrick. And the thing is
that's not a bad thing. if you had to, so the better question
Tom's
maybe.
Got Giselle.
That's what I was going to say. If you had to take for one night, Giselle or Danica, I'm going with Danica personally because she drives a race car, damn it. And she takes chances. She goes out there. Giselle, she's just a supermodel. Anyway, so I think that gives you more. That gives you more towards Rodgers right there.
I've never had the option to go, she's just a supermodel before. So
now, hey, my last comment on that. Al Michaels almost did a Brent Musburger because Al was so enthralled with Danica Patrick and how Aaron Rodgers and Danica Patrick were a thing. I was afraid that he was going to do a Brent Musburger with AJ McCarron's girlfriend. Look at her,
Catherine McCarron.
Woo! He pulled back a little bit, so that was good. Hey,
maybe someone
made it that far yet.
Maybe Chris was back there like, whoa, simmer down there, partner.
I just want to kiss you.
Yeah. We didn't get there, thank goodness.
Oh gosh.
So, Dad, before we move on, for this season, right now at their ages, who are you taking?
Danica or Giselle? Or,
no.
Okay.
Quit. All right, Brent, you need to calm down.
Okay, so here, one of the things, I'm going to assume I'm going to be the owner of the team. And so I want to have a guy that I want to hang out with a little bit. And so I'm going to say.
I want to win games. You think Robert Kraft? How often do you think him and Brady hang out?
I'm talking about winning games.
Actually, it seems like they are friends. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to tell you, I'm going to take 2 quarterbacks before I take Brady, just because I think I'd like to hang out with them. And that is Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees. I think both of those guys, I just think they would be cool to have a beer with. And they're damn good quarterbacks. Okay, and what does Drew Brees' wife look like? Is she hot? I don't know.
Well,
I think they've got like 12 kids or something. Oh, no, that's Phillip Rivers. No, I guess
Phillip Rivers has like double-digit kids. Yeah.
He got a bunch.
Dad.
Yeah.
All right, Pops. Well, you can go hang out with your quarterback, and me and Tom Brady are going to go win 5 Super Bowls. So you go do your thing.
Put Aaron Rodgers with Bill Belichick. Oh my God, they probably won. They've won 7 or 8.
No,
I mean,
I will disagree with that.
Brady is great. I'm not. He may or may not be the GOAT. I'm just saying he didn't win last year. He should. They probably should have won last year.
Yeah.
Are you putting that on Brady? Brady had 500 yards in the Super Bowl. What do you mean?
No, I'm not putting it on Brady. I guess you're right. I'm not putting that on Brady.
Yeah.
Okay.
I disagree with Lifford on that one. I think Tom Brady is the perfect storm for Bill Belichick. Those two have an umbilical cord attached to each other on that. So
I'm with Tony. I think Belichick was obviously it's been great for Brady, but I think Brady's been equally as good for Belichick. It's nice to have a quarterback that is amazing for having. Yeah. Brady says he'll play for like 4 more years. He might have him for till he's 50. Who knows? He's going to be your age, still slinging it, Dad.
Wow, thanks, Kev. But I'm just saying, you asked the question. I'm taking Rodgers. That'd be my first pick.
Yeah, the big loser from the Sunday night game was definitely Khalil. It was going to be John Gruden having to watch Khalil Mack just be amazing, but people forget that Khalil Mack's first half he had in just over 2 quarters of play he had a forced fumble, a fumble recovery, a pick 6, like a sack. I mean, Khalil Mack was amazing, and he was the guy that he was the lone bear chasing down Randall Cobb at the end of that long run in the 4th quarter. I mean, he had an amazing game, but everyone's talking about Rodgers, rightfully so. Let's move on to the Monday night doubleheader, and there wasn't a whole lot to talk about. Stafford looked awful. 5 interceptions. The Lions were putrid. Lost 48-17. But it had me kind of thinking, when Stafford's career's over with, what do you think? What will we think of Stafford?
You know what? That was a good question. I've been thinking about that. I'm gonna think the same thing about Stafford as I do about Tony Romo.
That's who I thought about. That's who I probably compared him to. All those guys like Drew Bledsoe.
Maybe those guys that were good quarterbacks, but never did the deal, right? They never were out there. Alex Smith, he's probably better than Alex. Now, I will have to say I didn't get to watch the whole game, and I watched highlights after I got back in. Understand the Lions got blown out the end, but it was about a 3.5-minute period where the Jets scored 24 points or 21 points.
Like a pick 6, a special teams touchdown, and I think another defensive touchdown.
Yep, and that's always been okay, here's my analogy. If you're from Georgia, if you go to the University of Georgia, you're eventually going to lose. And here's why. Those guys guys. They're great, and they get there to the spot, but they can't close the deal. That's the way the University of Georgia. That's why Mark Richt's at Miami. That's why Miami's probably not as good as they could be with someone else.
They
but
just can't finish it.
They're great guys, and they perform well, but you know what? They just can't get it there. And that's the same thing it is with Stafford. Great guy, makes a lot of throws. Jay Cutler's another guy in that vein. So that's where I think Stafford goes. And he may go down in history as the Curt Flood of quarterbacks, being that he's the guy that got that great big contract when he was 20-something years old, and now all other quarterbacks deals are gauged by that.
What do you think? What do you think, Pops?
Well, I mean, I think I hate it. I guess I probably think a lot like what Tony's saying, because I think Matt Stafford's a great guy. He has got an arm, I think, that probably 30 other quarterbacks in the league probably envy. He can make every throw.
70
he
yards.
can throw the ball. But
another guy like Rodgers, a little bit deceptively athletic. He can run a little more than you think.
Yeah.
He's a pretty good athlete. He's tough. I admire his toughness. He will play hurt and not think a thing about it. But
that game when he busted his shoulder up and still came in and threw,
and still came back in and threw. Yeah, exactly. But I don't know who's that. You saw the Jets saying they knew the plays before they were ran. They knew the hand signals before of what he was doing.
A linebacker said that. Yeah.
And by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. If I know your hand signals and we're playing a game and I can read them, that's bad on you. So
it sounds like.
Oh, by the way,
I can see it's like
doing.
Playing cards. I can see your hand. I might warn you for playing spades. I might say, hey, I can see your hand. I'm going to tell you one time. I might tell you twice.
It depends. If money's on the line, if you keep showing me, I'm going to keep looking.
That's some BS. But I hate it for Stafford because I like the guy.
But that's on coaching, right?
But that's on the coaching. But yes, why didn't the coach change up the signals? Or
sounds like they were running the same shit as last year. And they didn't change any hand signals.
Is it the same OC? Is that still Jim Bob Cooter? Is that the OC
still,
that's there?
Boy, the best name in football. Yeah, Jim Bob Cooter's still the OC because apparently him and Stafford have a connection. So Patricia was like, well, I want to keep him on.
Why can no coach ever leave New England and be successful? And maybe it's too early to say. It's too early to say that about Patricia, maybe. But boy, he had an inauspicious start. That was fugly is the word that comes to mind.
That's true.
Terrible.
I want to get to that. I'm with Tony and both of y'all really on Stafford, but especially the Romo comparison, because Stafford right now, I looked at some all-time stats and just all-time career passing yards. He's 28th, which doesn't sound amazing at like right off the dome, but he's only 3,000 behind Rodgers, which is less than a season. I mean, he throws for 4,000 plus every year, and he's 4 years younger than Rodgers. So I mean, he's probably going to play longer. Means he'll probably end up throwing for more yards than Rodgers. He's probably going to end up, as Tony said, Hall of Fame type numbers. Really, when it's all said and done, he's going to have Hall of Fame numbers. But it's just something, and I think Romo was part of his team that he played on. If he gets on a better team, he probably does. Maybe he gets a Super Bowl or at least gets to one. I think he didn't really have help from his supporting cast. I think Stafford, it's been now 69 games that they haven't had a 100-yard rusher. He has not had a 100-yard rusher in almost 70 straight games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's not like that Detroit defense is something to write home about. So sometimes it has something to do with your supporting cast, but there is something about those Georgia teams and Matt Stafford and Romo.
I'm telling you.
What can go wrong will at the end of the game.
And you know what, Kevin, I tell you, it's been worth it for me to be here tonight, just for me to hear a Cowboy fan say, if Tony Romo were on a better team. That's phenomenal. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
I'm glad I can make your night.
Yeah. So the next part, and if we ever get to this tonight, it's great. You know, when you talk about all-time great quarterbacks, and would you take Brady or would you take whoever? The one thing that makes it, to me, that separates a quarterback out is his ability to make the right decision. And actually the ability to make a decision, period. Quarterbacks are all over the place, and we can talk about Nathan Peterman. We can talk about either one of the Razorback quarterbacks, but you can talk about any of the guys, and their problem in making a decision is where the mediocrity goes to being a great quarterback.
That's where Tom Brady, why he may not make the throws that Stafford can make physically up here in his head. He's going to make the right play.
Yeah.
Not 9 times out of 10, probably 29 times out of 30. I mean, every time he makes the right play. And I think you're so right. It's decision making.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Speaking of quarterbacks, so in that same game, Sam Darnold had, it was a pretty good game, but we mentioned he got a lot of help from 3 straight touchdowns by the defense and special teams. And right now, I watched just a tad bit of Get Up this morning, and Greeny, a big-time Jets fan, was on there, and good Lord, they were just oozing with, the hype train. I feel bad for Sam Darnold right now because New York thinks they have Tom Brady in the making right now after one game. Where do y'all stand on Sam Darnold? Are y'all all over, or is it a good game, or?
I want to see him. I'd like to see the Jets do well. I hope that he seems like a great kid. I'm rooting for him. But that's all I know. I think I didn't know anything about him in college. Looks like he's good. I hope he is.
Yeah, it's fine. One game does not a season make, and one of the things you got to look at for Darnold, he does have an advantage of playing, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, in the AFC East, because New England didn't just flat shut down the Texans. Buffalo is atrocious, and Miami doesn't look like, Tennessee may be the worst team in football. We may talk about that later, but he gets to play those guys twice. And so he's going to put up some pretty decent numbers. It's going to be tough for him to be successful for the rest of the year. If he goes, something like 16 touchdowns, interceptions, or he's able to control the ball, great. He may turn out to have a rookie year like Dak Prescott had, although he's got Isaiah Crowell running for him, and
he doesn't quite have Ezekiel Elliott.
He doesn't have Ezekiel Elliott,
and that offensive line. Yeah,
that offensive line. So we'll see, but let's hold off on that.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm on. When I see all that Sam Darnold hype, I saw people going nuts. I was like, how about we pour a little water on that? And he'll be fine. Yeah. I think he's going to be a good quarterback, but my God, it seemed like they had the franchise guy right there. It's been one game against a team that threw 5 interceptions. Calm down.
He had the best post-game interview of anybody, though. You see this guy up there, and he's all grins. And so the reporter asks him, so what did you think after you threw your first pass as a pick 6? And he says, thanks for bringing that up. And but then he moves straight forward, and all he ever talked about was his mom being there and how happy he was his mom. And I think it was his dad or stepdad. They talked about, I didn't see a girl in the stands. I didn't see anybody. So he played it really well. And so you wish him the best. I hope New York doesn't get him. So
yeah. But I think he can handle it. I think he'll handle it.
One thing I think Darnold will make him really good, and it's kind of going off what you said right there, is he threw that pick 6 to start the game. And just like the question, he moved on that quick. I think he moves on from touchdowns and interceptions. So, and that's a big thing about quarterbacks. The last play was the last play. Whether it was awesome or bad, you got to make the next one. And I think Darnold has that. So going on to quarterbacks and New York quarterbacks specifically, watching Darnold did make me think how, as a Giants fan, which I'm not, but as a Giants fan, how do you have to think about, you went a running back, which I think Saquon Barkley looked really good, but you went a running back over Sam Darnold when Sam Darnold's going to cost $12 million over the next 2 years, and Eli Manning's going to cost $22 million this year and $23 million next year. And Darnold might be better than Eli Manning right now. I just don't know how you justify taking a running back over a quarterback in this day and age, especially with the rookie scale.
Well, and so I have been on both sides of the fence on this because Penn State running backs are typically not successful in the NFL, but the guys that get paid to do things that we're doing right now really believe in Saquon Barkley is the true talent of that draft and the athlete of that draft. And so I could certainly see where if you're wanting to be successful in the next 2 to 3 years, that you take that running back because it's something that you don't have. And not many teams do have that. And so I can see them taking him over Darnold at that point. Now I will see if Cleveland should have taken Darnold instead of Baker Mayfield. That might be a different question. But I can see the Giants there with Manning, who could be the Peyton version of the Manning family and be able to hand the ball off and just throw the ball 15 to 20 times and be successful. So we'll see.
But why are we, Eli Manning has had some games where he has surgically taken apart teams. It's been a while. It's been a while. I will say that. But a $22 million quarterback today is really not that bad if he can get anywhere close to that level again. So, I mean, I don't know that they did do the wrong thing taking Barkley.
Well, I was going to say, did you
obviously,
see last
Eli,
game? But he did play against Jacksonville, so probably
exactly.
calmed down a little bit. But it was bad. He didn't look very good.
Well, Eli Manning needs to elevate his game a little bit, but I'm not ready to throw in the towel on him yet. He might have another year.
Before I sound like I'm shitting all over Saquon Barkley, he did get 100 yards on Jacksonville, who didn't. I don't know if they allowed a 100-yard rusher last year. If they did, it wasn't many. So I think Barkley's good. I think Barkley might be either as good, if not maybe better than Ezekiel Elliott. And the Cowboys took him fourth overall, and I don't know if that was a good decision. If you look, hindsight being 2020, but I don't think that's a Cowboy problem. I think that's a coaching problem. But we'll get to that soon.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting.
I want to go.
Saquon made of that 120 or 130 yards, 65 of it was one run. So be careful about. I would be careful yet about crowning Saquon as a success yet. But that 165-yard run was pretty good.
Pretty impressive. It was pretty impressive. It did raise some eyebrows. But so moving on to the second game of the Monday Night Football, and that was the Rams and Raiders game. And the Raiders came out. They looked decent, but to me, my takeaway from that game was the Rams look, at least defensively, the Rams look good to me. What'd y'all think?
Was it Marcus Peters? Is he a Ram?
Yes,
he is now. He was a Chief last year. Now he's a Ram.
Right. Yeah.
Well, he scored that last pick six, didn't he? And did the little Marshawn Lynch thing into the end zone.
Did the Homer dude.
Okay. Yeah, I thought that was that game. I didn't stay up late enough to watch it all, but I watched the highlights. And Derek Carr served up a couple. He served up a couple of INTs that were horrible. Yeah,
that were just bad. Like Tony said, there's times when you got to make the right decision. It might not be a gain of yards. It might be throw it away. And Carr threw it straight to a Marcus Peters.
Todd Gurley's pretty legit running back. And Brandon Cooks looked pretty good. Mm-hmm. So I think Jared Goff looked good and sharp. LA Rams looked tough to me. And I think Sean McVay is the young guy that's kind of bringing it. LA's the team to beat right now.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that, if you look at that, and we may talk about Chicago, we didn't really talk a lot about that defense and that breakdown, but how great Khalil Mack was during that first half. That game was 13-10 at halftime or something like that, and then it was 33-13. Yeah. So, or 33-10.
Yeah, Oakley kicked a field goal right before the half, made it 13-10. That's right.
So the Rams defense is one of those defenses that's a championship type defense that's built to last. The big lineman for the Rams,
Aaron Donald and
Aaron Donald.
So they got both.
Yeah. The thing is, he didn't have the flash plays that Khalil Mack had, but his team was more dominant for 4 quarters. That's a problem that Chicago's going to have all year long because of Matt Nagy. We can talk about that later if you want to, but the thing about the Rams defense is they're built to last. They're built to be a quality defense, first quarter to fourth quarter. And I thought that was what was impressive to me. Brandon Cooks, although he didn't, and this is my bad because I had him starting on my team this weekend. Brandon Cooks didn't get a lot of yardage. He had 70-something, but he had 2 huge pass interference plays that really got the Rams going.
Yeah, I'm almost wondering. I feel like we should lobby. Should you get points for drawing a pass interference? Because that changed the game. It definitely changed the game for the Rams. It doesn't help you in fantasy at all, but.
For this weekend's fantasy, absolutely. Next weekend, maybe not so much.
And I think you're so right. What makes that defense so good, and we talked about Sean McVay and what he does for that offense. Wade Phillips does the same thing for that defense to me. And it's the toys that he has to play with. Like, you got Donald and Sue on the inside who they might not make the same plays, like you said, Tony, that Mac will make, where it's flashy and looks good, but they just impact the game. And on the back end, Marcus Peters might not even be their best corner. He's a great corner, but they also have Akeem Talib, Sam Shields. They have a lot of really good corners. Yeah, and that team they are scary. They are real scary for any team in the NFC. I think the only team maybe close talent-wise would be the Vikings, but they wouldn't be able to handle those 2 guys up front.
Yeah, you're right. There's nobody that's got Todd Gurley other than the Rams. So.
Well, so we talked about coaching and Sean McVay and what he does in offense. And one of the thoughts I had while watching that game was just basically if your team doesn't have a Sean McVay, a Kyle Shanahan, I think Matt Nagy offensively, he did go into a shell in the second half and played not to lose, which loses you every game. But then Andy Reid or Doug Peterson, if you don't have one of those guys that just is playing the game a little different, I think you're falling behind. And there's just a new wave coming through. And I think the teams like the Cowboys, who are stuck in trying to run the same things they ran with Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott rookie year, that they're still stuck in the same thing. When Nagy and Shanahan and all those guys, they change up each week. It's something new. It's a different wrinkle. And shoot, McVay's got Jared Goff looking like a pretty solid quarterback. Dak's got to be better than Goff, right?
Say that again. Say that again. I want to make sure I heard that. Let me click
Dak. I think you said Dak.
To me, so I think, and I want to this will get us straight to a good quote that Tony found from the boss man himself. But I think I don't think Jared Goff's that good of a quarterback. I think I really don't. I think he just.
Are you pretending like you're Jerry Jones, or are you pretending like you're Kevin?
No, so personally, I really don't think Jared Goff is that great. I just think Sean McVay is so smart, and he puts him in. He never has to throw in a tight window. Yeah. Watch the games. He never throws in a tight window. They're always open, and it's scheme dominated.
So I see steam coming out of Tony's ears.
Yeah. So to make sure. So to make sure we stay on your first question about the coaches before we get to Dak.
Before we go there.
Coaches, here's what I think. In the NFL, successful coaches coach to where you have a mismatch where your best player has a physical mismatch to their player. And the coaches that are successful are the ones that can have systems to do that. Now, let's just take Matt Nagy, for example. Matt Nagy coming from the Andy Reid tree, they scheme things to put together. And if you saw that Tariq Cohen and Jordan Howard and I forgot the other wide receiver that they had in the backfield, Butler, I think maybe in the backfield for a few plays, so similar to Andy Reid and what they were doing with DeAnthony Thomas, Kareem Hunt, Spencer, where they're putting all that stuff and Tyreek Hill, all that scheme. But you saw in both of those games, that doesn't last for the whole 4 quarters. It's great for 30 or 40 minutes, but the other team is always going to figure out the scheme. If you don't have the players and put the system together where you can get a mismatch, it's not going to be successful. That's where Doug Peterson has done a great job of being a little different. You don't see those kind of, he's got his trick play from time to time, but the reason the Eagles were so successful, he took a player who was a mismatch, Carson Wentz, and put him in situations where he could be successful. Alshon Jeffrey, mismatched to be successful. You don't see Nagy and Reid doing that in that kind of tree.
Well, I will. To argue that a little bit, I think Andy Reid does do that with Tyreek Hill at times and Travis Kelce. And I love what Pat Mahomes and them did. It's like same thing we said with Darnold. It's been 1 week, so let's calm down. But the Bears, the reason that doesn't last is because they don't have a guy. So they were creating mismatches in the first half with Tariq Cohen and Jordan Howard and getting them in open field and things with Allen Robinson here and there. But the problem is at some point, like the Rams do and like the Eagles are able to do with Carson Wentz, at some point you need a guy like Gurley or Wentz who's just better than the person across the field, and they just make plays. Like at times in that game, they didn't do anything fancy. They just turned around and handed the ball to Gurley, and he's going to get you 5 yards, and even if it's not great. So I think Nagy has the scheme. The scheme only does so much. At some point, you need that stud that you can't scheme up and stop.
I agree. Yeah, and you look at coaching trees and stuff, and it goes back. I think there are 3 things still working in the NFL. You've got the West Coast and all its variances, coming back from Bill Walsh and that tree and how those things grew up. And Belichick is part of that. And then I think you have the North Turner, which is the play action. The two wides, tight end, fullback play action, and a lot of things are built off that. The third one is, God love him, Houston Nutt and Sean Lee, and the run action, the quarterback being that, run that. And so you see a lot of teams. Carolina's built a lot of stuff off that. Heck, Aaron Rodgers does some of that. McCarthy comes more off of the Turner and, the West Coast tree than he does anything else. He's kind of got a little mix,
but probably more West Coast than anything.
But you see that quarterback run action is now the third tree that's going on out there. And everything else off of that is but it's not really working. So we'll see what happens with the Andy Reid tree and how that really goes the next 5-10 years. So, and you said earlier I love to talk about Matt Patricia. I think that's the worst hire ever because the dude was a defensive coordinator for sloppy, terrible defense.
For a horrible defense. Horrible defense.
Terrible. If I could coach their defense if I wore my hat backwards and gained 40,
And
well,
put a
not necessarily
pencil in
40,
and put a
20
beard.
pounds.
Yeah.
I could be their defensive coordinator.
Well, here's the thing. It wasn't just that they didn't have a lot of talent. They made stupid mistakes, which is something you don't see New England do that often.
No,
I think
I don't
New
know
England
where
was like,
they're-
"Oh, you want to interview?
You want to hire Patricia?
Go ahead, yeah,
Please.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can
didn't
you
see
talk to
them-
Patricia? Oh, you bet you can. Sure.
Yeah. They didn't lay down $5 million to Matt Patricia like they did to Josh McDaniels.
So we
You
talked
know.
about we were talking about some of those coaches that are if you don't have one of these guys, then you're kind of getting left behind. And we mentioned about Matt Nagy and some of the other guys. How
Did you mention Jason Garrett? I don't remember you mentioning him in that
I think
list.
you can do fine with that one. You can do fine without, as they call on the ringer. You can do fine without the clapper. He doesn't do
The
much
clapper.
for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but one coach that I think is the next guy who will be the one that wins a lot of games, and we talked about how New England disciples of Belichick don't do very well. And real quick, to harp on that point, to just give you some proof, here's Belichick's coaching tree. I didn't even know who this was. I had to look up who he was. But Al Groh stepped in for him at the Jets. So he went 9-7. He's the only one that's been under Bill Belichick at any point and has a winning record. Is Al Groh.
Wow.
The other ones are Bill O'Brien, who went 31, who's been so far 31-34. The other one's Eric Mangini, who's 33-47. Josh McDaniels, who's 11-17. Romeo Crennel, who is 28-15. He has like the Browns asterisk beside it, where you just can't win in Cleveland.
Yeah.
But and then
Wait, you said 28-15.
Biddy.
28-55. That's what I meant.
Biddy.
Okay.
28-55. And Matt
Biddy.
Patricia, who so far it's only been one game, but 0-1, and it doesn't sound like anybody in this podcast is buying the Matt Patricia stock.
Well, the Matt Patricia's 0-1, and the record's worse than it sounds. I mean, it's a bad 0-1.
And
God.
I'll tell you this,
But I
Kevin.
think, yeah, go ahead.
Here's the reason I think for that, and you may be getting this. Bill Belichick doesn't teach anybody a damn thing. Bill Belichick is out there to do something for Bill Belichick, and Bill Belichick wants to win, and he's got it. He's got the formula, but he ain't teaching you. He don't care what you do as long as you help him win. He's not out there to help you. He's on the field. I don't know the guy outside of that, but on the field and in football, he's an asshole. He's a cheater. He does whatever he needs to do to win.
Bring it to
That's why that coaching tree will never amount to dick, is because he doesn't go out there and teach something. All those other guys, we'll be talking about Bill Walsh and his coaching tree forever. They'll be talking about that in 21 something. Bill Belichick will be, hey, that guy that was pretty good for about 30 years, but then everybody else is going to forget about it.
Well,
there you go.
and I wanted to say real quick.
There's a take.
Yeah, I want to say real quick
Drop the mic.
before I move on too far. I know it's your first time, Tony, but please tell us how you really feel about Bill Belichick and that coaching. But no, I agree with you. And he might tell you one or two things. He might help you out a little bit, but he's never going to open up the cupboard for an assistant, because, like you said, he's out for number one. He's looking out for himself, and he is not going to let Billy O'Brien go to Houston and be better. So he's not going to teach you everything he knows, whatever that formula is. I don't know what it is, but that's why I think Josh McDaniels could be that guy, because the only reason Josh McDaniels stayed, one, like you said earlier, when he was thinking about the Colts, they did shovel out some money to him, but I think the only thing that kept him was Bill Belichick finally said, look, this is it. I'm almost done. When I'll teach you everything I know, and you're the next guy. You're the next Pats guy. That might not happen, but the only reason I think it's possible is because Bill's fine with giving someone it. He just doesn't want to do it while he's still coaching, because while he's still in the game, he's looking out for number one, and he'll take any advantage, whether it be deflating a ball or spying on a team, whatever it takes to win a game. He'll do it until he gets caught. Dad, I'll let you react to what me and Tony said.
Well, I mean, I don't. Tony calling him a cheater. I mean, that does seem strong, but I think I agree with it. If I, as we talked earlier, if I can get your signals from watching,
won't shoot for a pope.
Don't want it bad enough. But there are some limits. If I'm filming your signals and all, I mean, come on. If I'm deflating balls, I don't know if they did or didn't, whatever.
They did.
But But I think they probably did. But there's nothing wrong. If I can steal your signals, if I can look over and see your cards and you keep showing them to me, that's your fault. That's on you. But if I'm, looking in the mirror behind you, now I play cards. Okay, here's an example. I play cards with somebody sitting in front of a window and it gets dark outside. And when it gets dark outside, a window kind of turns into a little bit of a mirror. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I could see their cards and I would not look on purpose. I mean, because that just takes the fun out of it. So, I'll cheat accidentally, but I won't cheat on purpose. You know what I'm saying?
I'll tell you what.
Accidentally. How do you accidentally cheat?
Well, accidentally, you show me your hand and I looked and made, I knew you had the ace of spades. So I'm going to hold on for a little bit or whatever.
The doctor is correct. He's taking advantage of something where there's no rule out there. There's no rule that says when you're playing poker, thou shalt not look into the dark window that shows the other guy's cards. That's the other guy's fault. There is an NFL rule. You will not tape practices, period. End of story.
There's a rule. There is a rule. You cheated.
There's a rule. Don't deflate the footballs. Don't tell a guy who's making minimum wage to go down and, hey, man, take Brady down there and get him where he likes the footballs. There's a rule. All right. That's the difference. You took advantage of a situation. That he broke. Anyway,
I'm not a Patriots fan. I'm not a Patriots fan or a good old Boston masshole. But I will say that I think that whole the Spygate that was a little sketchy. I don't know that was sketchy. But the deflating the balls, I think that got so blown out of proportion. I think plenty of people were doing it, and then the Colts started waving the flag on a team because deflating the balls was the reason they lost 35-3. Yeah, it was because that ball was a few pounds.
No, that's not right. There were 29 other teams in the NFL, or 28, that were just laughing under their breath. Tee-hee. Oh, they got caught because they all did it. There's no doubt about it.
The Steelers, during the preseason, apparently the Steelers had a ball that was during the game, their balls were all deflated a little bit, and that got blown under the rug. No one cared. But when the Patriots, I think people do. Part of it is the Spygate stuff. I think he did get caught red-handed. Now, the Deflategate stuff was just people, the Patriots are too damn good, and they must be cheating. There's no way he's just smarter than all of us. When, in all actuality, he just takes up your first-round pick that didn't work for you, and he signs them, and they end up being great for Tom Brady every time. Some of that is coaching, and I know y'all aren't saying he's a bad coach, but he's a great coach. He does blur the line between what's on the rules and what's not. That line's blurred for him.
Yeah, great.
He wants to poke really bad.
Great coach, terrible teacher. Great coach.
And I think that's on purpose. I don't think he wants to teach. I think Tony's so right.
No. Yeah. I think you're on it. That's a very fair analogy.
So, all right, we've mentioned it. I know we mentioned it before we hopped on. I think we mentioned it a while, but I got caught watching a Punter's highlight over the weekend, and Michael Dixon from Seattle. This punter, I know a punter's a punter, whatever. This punter is actually changing games. There was in the Denver game in week 1, there were 6 Denver drives following a punt, and in those drives total, they scored 3 points. And the 5 drives that Denver got following a kickoff, they scored a total of 21 points. There's something to this guy punting. And I have some more, but I want to ask you, Dad, you've kind of been enamored with Michael Dixon too. Like what do you think?
Well, I'm almost embarrassed to say that I actually have watched the highlights of the 6 punts that Michael Dixon punted this past week. I mean, you can Google up Michael Dixon, Seattle punter, and it'll say, see all his punts this weekend. All 6 punts, and with descriptions of each. And but the guy, he's changing the game. He doesn't give the deep back a chance to return a punt. He can cough and kick it out at the 6-yard line, at the 13-yard line. He can make it stop at the 2 and bounce the other way. The guy's pretty damn incredible. I don't know where he came from. I'd never heard. Is he a rookie?
He's a rookie. I'll tell you where he came from. And
from UT, I think he went to Australia.
He's had a lot of practice punting because that offense hasn't been very good. He's from Australia, which I swear, Australia just breeds these good punters. They had Brad Wing a few years ago from LSU, and he was good in the pros. I don't know what Australia's doing, but they breed punters. That's where they need, Nick Saban, who can't find a kicker. Maybe, I guess this doesn't help him out, but
Australia
go to Australia
football.
for your punters.
Have you ever seen Australian rules football? Man,
I
on, man.
can't
They
say
kick
that
it all
I
over
have
the
watched
place.
punter highlights, but I've never watched Australian
if you were-
football.
He's a little bit into the CFL,
Okay.
Tony, but you know, the Canadian football league.
You've got to
but-
be of a certain age to be around when ESPN started and understand at 2:00 in the morning, the only thing on is Australian rules football. And they kick the ball a lot. So anyway,
Well,
yeah.
they must, because this guy, I thought it was nuts when I saw Peter King, who he put in his predictions column that he actually predicted Michael Dixon to win Rookie of the Year, which is flat out insane. But
as a punter.
I'm just saying,
Okay.
he punted 6 times and 4 of them were down inside the 20. They averaged 59 yards per punt, which, oh, by the way, is an NFL record in his first game.
Is he does he kick rugby style or is he kick regular?
I'm sure he can do rugby since he's from Australia, but for the
is it
most part, I
regular?
think he just kicks regular, and it's just a rocket flies off that foot. It's insane.
Well,
Well, he's got his hang time is like 4.5 seconds or something nuts like that. So you can cover
so
the punt.
let me tell you the importance of this. Here's my question. How many punters are in the NFL Hall of Fame?
Ray Guy, I think it's just one.
One punter.
Shane Leckler might get there one day.
Oh, no. I think Ray Guy is probably going to be the only punter ever in, unless this guy, like I said,
Besides Michael Dixon. Besides him.
Yeah. I will say this, though. Lifford's right. Every few years, something comes along that changes the way they play the game. If this guy can consistently punt the ball 50-plus yards, it will change. It will change the game.
People will start watching film and they'll start breeding. I mean, they'll be like, I want to punt just like this guy at 12 years old.
Yeah. Jerry Jones will want a 60-yard
Well, I
punter.
just am wishing that I'd have I wish I'd have made you punt, Kevin, when you were young. I was punt the ball, punt.
You should have
thing.
shipped me to Australia at 8 years old and just made me learn punting.
Yeah.
Well,
I
the
could add
shipping
a
to
career.
Australia, don't think I didn't think about it, but that's
So this
that's
is
whole
a
nother
true
thing.
Okay, I'll tell you, this is a true story. When I was playing high school football, this tells you my talent in high school football. After my sophomore year, my dad started telling me to run up the hill backwards to strengthen my hamstrings so I could possibly be a kicker. So he
At least your dad
wanted
was
me to be a
thinking.
punter.
Liff acted like I could still play something else. He should have known I was a punter.
He tried to get me to be a punter after watching me my sophomore year. So, yeah, it happens. But I think this Dixon guy, we'll see. Again, 1 week does not a season make. We'll see if someone schemes to get around that, starts being a more pressure. But the way the rules are now, you can't mess with the center. And so the center is going to get a good snap. And all of a sudden,
Michael Dixon's going to kick a rocket. Yeah.
Michael Dixon's going to kick it 60 yards. I bet you there'll be a rule change. You just watch.
They'll figure out a way to make, because at the end of the day, Tony, you have a point. At the end of the day, seeing a 60-yard bomb of a punt is not as fun as seeing a punt return.
Yeah.
So the NFL will make it more fun to score, and punting doesn't score points. So
I guarantee you there's not a tailgate going on in Seattle after about a 6-pack of whatever beer they Anchor Steam, whatever they're drinking out there in Seattle, that the guy goes, let's go watch Michael Dixon punt. That's not going to happen.
You should see our punter.
Yeah. That's
when you know your team's not doing so hot, when you're pumped up about the punter. All right.
Yeah.
I want to play a little game with you guys, and before we go to it, I want to real quick. We talked about it at the beginning, but if you're going to be gambling, and I don't know if MyBookie has anything on Michael Dixon's punts, but bet the over, because that man's got a rocket. But if I don't know who to bet on, but I know who to bet with, and you need to be betting with MyBookie, and especially if you're a listener of the Just Press Play podcast. If you're one of our listeners, you type in JPP in the promo code, and they will match anything you deposit in for the play mode. So say you put in $100, they'll match it, and you got $200 to play with. And they're the best place to play. Basically, you play and they pay. So and you win. I mean, it's a good place to go. And especially if you're one of our listeners, just make sure you're typing in that JPP promo code, because we need them to know, like the few people we're sending, we need them to know that they're coming from us. So
hey, Kevin, I will tell you this. I'll tell you this. I agree, because I'm going to go open up an account on MyBookie. Maybe not tonight, but probably tomorrow. And because one of the best weeks to bet football is week 2, because all of the hype that goes
no one knows. Oh yeah,
and
Sam Darnold's a Hall of Famer.
That's right. I'm telling you, you might want to take whoever the Jets are playing. I'm not sure who they are. You might want to take the other guy and take the under. So I'll be headed to my bookie pretty quick.
I'm telling you. So you're listening. If you're still listening right now, a Sharp is speaking to you, and this is the week. This is the week to get on, and there's no better place than MyBookie. And then type the JPP in. Not only do you win with your bets when you fade the Jets, but you also are going to win because they're going to match your deposit. So it's just a win-win situation for you.
Now it's MyBookie.ag, right?
It's MyBookie BOOKIE.ag. I know it's a weird URL, but you type it in.
They started in agriculture. I don't know.
Okay, you're doing LJ's joke. I thought we were out of that joke.
Argentina.
All right, now I want to get to a game with you guys, and it's going to be you're going to pick three different teams. One team is exactly what you thought they were going to be. One team is you're buying all their stock, and the other team is a team that is no longer talking about the playoffs. And let's go ahead and we'll start off with the team. A real shout out, rest in peace. A real shout out to Denny Green. What team is your?
If you want to crown them, then crown their ass. But they are who we thought they were.
All right, Dad, what team is who you thought they were after week 1? What's your reaction?
Well, this is the easiest one. It is the Buffalo Bills. They are who I thought they were. They suck. They're terrible. Why would you not have kept Tyrod Taylor there to kind of keep? I mean, he is a professional quarterback. He's a good guy. He's never going to be a stud, but he's better than Nathan Peterman, for God's sake.
You know, it's crazy.
Let him take the reins and hand it to the other guy. Allen that they drafted?
Josh Allen.
Allen.
He looks really good, apparently. Some shorts and a T-shirt. He can throw it real far. So.
Yeah, I guess. But are who I thought they were, Buffalo freaking Bills. That's it. That's my team.
Now, that's such a cop-out.
That is not a cop-out. He asked who I thought they were. It is the Buffalo Bills. That's who I thought they were.
Okay.
All right, Tony.
Bring yours, Tony Green.
All right,
Come
TJ.
on. I mean, that's such an easy answer. I mean, Buffalo, they're terrible. They were terrible last year. They're terrible this year. You know?
So it's the right answer.
They are who we thought they were. They were a playoff team last year. They were a playoff team.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, Tony, who you got?
A good one. I've got the Oakland Raiders, and here's why.
Okay.
The Oakland Raiders, they've got John Gruden, so they are the flash in the pan. They're a all show, no finish. And you saw that last night. Last night. They're all show, no finish. They're going to get out there. John Gruden, Chucky's back, blah, 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 blah. He's frowning on the sidelines. He's yelling at people. He's all this doing stuff. It's
the black hole's
show,
going crazy.
No finish. They're all going to Derek Carr. Oh man, look at this pass. Look at this pass. Look at this pass. Oh, there's a pick 6. Look at Khalil Mack. Look at Khalil Mack. Oh, he did nothing in the second half. They are who we thought they were. A lot of flash. Get to Vegas so you can do the same thing there.
I kind of agree with that. I guess I'm going to have to cop out. Go with Pops. I might get called out by Tony. Who they thought they were to start out easy. Boy, it's the Bills. I mean, I came into the year thinking this may be a good a team you might want to watch out for in your survivor pool, just who's playing the Bills. And I left week 1 going, oh my God, whoever the Bills are playing, especially if Nathan Peterman, my God, he was terrible. And I have a fun fact for you guys about Nathan Peterman if you want to hear it. So
can't wait to hear it.
I'm into fun facts. Bring it, brother.
I know that everyone that pulled up the episode and was getting ready to listen to another episode of Just Press Play, they were thinking when they started, I hope they really dive into Nathan Peterman. And I really hope they break something down. So not only did we hit a punter, we're also hitting Nathan Peterman. And Mr. Peterman has joined an exclusive club that both Peyton and Eli Manning are in. So last Sunday, in his third start, Nathan Peterman compiled a passer rating of a total 0.0.
It was a negative.
At one point, Mr. Peterman actually gained points for an incompletion. So he did not have a big game. And he did so.
Wow.
And he did so on 18 attempts. And in the history of the NFL, only 29 NFL quarterbacks have attempted at least 18 attempts. and thrown up a goose egg in the passer rating stat.
That's
Two of those
awesome.
quarterbacks, Eli and Peyton. So, hey,
And a Manning.
so
Wow.
both of those, they're both probably future Hall of Famers. So Nathan Peterman.
I was going to say, so
maybe
is Peterman a Hall of Famer?
the jury's still out. The jury is still out. Also in that club, real quick, is Warren Moon and Joe Namath. Just real interesting. I'm telling you, Nathan Peterman's in good company. But
He's in good company, no doubt.
He should
Now,
start next
though-
week. I'm gonna go pick him up
Well,
tonight
so-
in fantasy football.
So here's the thing. If they decide, I don't know why they would, Lord forbid they actually start Nathan Peterman another game. But if he starts another game, he gets a chance to join a club that is a very exclusive one. It's a club that has one man in it, and that is a quarterback that has gone 2 games with a passer rating of a 0. And the one man, I was going to try to see if y'all could guess it. There's absolutely no way.
Can I say Quincy Carter? Is it Quincy Carter?
It is not Quincy Carter. It was much before Quincy. It was before he was born.
Oh,
wow.
It
Okay.
was Steve Tinsey who did it twice for the Denver Broncos. And not only did he do it twice in 1967, he did it twice in the 67 season. Somehow that man started 2 different games where he had a 0 passer rating. I'm sure.
So he had a double-double.
Yeah.
Wow.
So if the Bills decide to start Peterman, then he becomes with Nathan Tinsey as the 2 players to only achieve that. So there's big things. There's big things on the horizon
Big things for Nathan
for
Peterman.
old NP. All right.
so good for him. So he's got that going for him, which is nice.
Yeah, there's something going for him, and he's in the NFL, I guess, for at least one more week, hopefully.
Yeah, and I suspect he's being paid at least $300,000 or $400,000 more than all of us are per year. So that's great. Good for him.
He's getting paid slightly more than us 3 are for doing this podcast. So we'll put that out there.
Combined. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
All right,
Not
Dad.
if he went to
we'll go ahead.
MyBookie.ag.
All right, Dad. Now, we'll start with you again since we did you for the last one. What team are you? What team are you buying? What team are you buy on after week 1?
Well, we talked about him earlier. Tony's going to rag my ass, I know, but I mean, the LA Rams. I'm buy the LA Rams.
I'm with Tony. God, can you get any easier?
Well, you asked the question. I mean, who am I buying? The LA Rams. They look fantastic. You want me to go out on a limb? I'll tell you what. I'll tell you a
I
team
don't
that I
want you to
think is
go
going
out
to
on a
be
limb if you
freaky
don't
kind
want
of
to.
good. I'm going to tell you a team that's going to be freaky good that I don't think anybody knows. Baltimore. Baltimore Ravens are going to be pretty damn good this year.
All right, it only took
Washington.
you in the first episode. You're learning how to play the game. There we go.
Wow.
Baltimore. So you
Well, I
think
didn't
Joe
know. I mean,
Flacco?
you asked the question. I mean, but I'm telling you, Flacco's going to have a good year. The Baltimore Ravens are going to be a playoff team. Yes.
Flacco is Backo. Is he elite? Is he elite?
Is he elite?
Is he an elite
He gets
quarterback?
paid like he's
Yeah, that's
elite.
true.
He gets paid like that. So, come on.
Wait, real quick, before I ask Tony who he's buying, you're picking Joe Flacco and the Ravens as the team you're buying after they beat. Wait, after they beat
I think you should stick
the
with the
Bills,
Rams.
who we both just shit on. You're picking the
Who were
Ravens.
who we thought they were. Well, I mean, you wouldn't let me have the Rams. So if you won't let me have the Rams, I want the Rams first. If you only let me have the Rams a little out on the edge, I'm taking the Baltimore Ravens. There.
All right.
Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
all right. Tony, who are you buying? Who are you putting your money on?
Rams.
See? Oh, my God.
I love it.
No, and here's why.
They'll-
I will say this, and I'll say it, and I have a second team. Just like Lifford, I'll hedge it. I have real money on the Rams to win the Super Bowl. So I knew someone who was out in Vegas earlier this year, and I have money on the Rams to win the Super Bowl. But the thing about it is you're buying them. There are multiple teams in NFC that people are on. The Minnesota Vikings, you mentioned them earlier. Some people could say Seattle, Philadelphia Eagles, who nobody talks about as the reigning NFL champions.
They're all the reigning champs.
So,
yeah.
And so I think it's a legitimate, much different than Buffalo, who is freaking bad, to say, yeah, they're not who we thought we were. I think that the Rams, though, I think are legitimate contenders for the NFC Championship. So now to hedge it, though, if we're going to stay off the Rams and
Okay, yeah, you got to choose another
I
team.
think it's the
Tony.
Redskins.
Really?
So people and it's not AP.
John Gruden is who you thought they were, but Jay Gruden, on the other hand,
Jay Gruden, it has been consistent the whole time. He is gonna have Here's what I think the difference is. And okay, so I'll try to be brief. Jay Gruden gets his team. See,
Good luck.
Clifford laughs at that. Jay Gruden puts his teams in a winning position every single year. They're going to get to the playoffs now. They've had trouble getting there. Alex Smith is the kind of quarterback that can win. If you've taken him away from Andy Reid, he's going to get a situation where he's got players that are better than their opponent. AP, if he stays healthy, great. They took a blow with Darius Geis, but they can run the football. Jordan Reed's on the field. He cannot be guarded as a tight end.
For how long, Tony?
That's
is
Jordan,
Jordan Reed.
But
I mean, the two names you mentioned, the two names are Adrian Peterson, who's, 35 years old at running back, whatever he is.
32.
And Jordan Reed, who hasn't played
32.
more than, 5
and
games
that's
in
why
a
I
season?
say, I think they're a buy. You can buy them really cheap. You go out to MyBookie.
Okay.
I bet you right now the futures on the Redskins are probably still pretty cheap because they beat a very, very bad Arizona Cardinals team. But
They were
still,
a candidate for who we thought they were.
They were very methodical in the way that they did it. And I just think that Alex Smith is a smart quarterback. So watch out for the Redskins.
Okay, here's the deal. All right, before you say your team, Kevin, I bet Baltimore has a better record than Washington at the end of the day.
Whoa.
My second team.
Yeah.
Tony, that's a bet.
we have a-
Me and you, that's a
Do we
bet.
have a bet?
Done.
Oh,
That's a
there
bet.
we
We
go.
do.
All right, I like it. I like
That's
it.
a
I'm
bet.
just I'm gonna stay away from it.
That's
but
a bet.
now,
Hey,
right.
hey,
Who you got,
if I win the bet, can I put the Bonehammer emblem up on the JPP website?
hell yeah, you can.
No, but a thing.
Done.
No, but a thing. You don't even have to win. You can do that. No big deal.
Well, hey, see, Dad, sometimes you just don't know when to be quiet. You got to make it sound like he's getting something.
Oh,
All
There
right.
you go.
well, it was because it's Tony, not just
okay,
anybody
yeah, okay.
can. But
Well, so you had a good point. You mentioned why Redskins are an interesting buy. I don't necessarily agree with you, but you're saying because the money's still low, you can buy it cheap on them, and that's why I think the Rams is a tough. I actually probably wouldn't go with them because the Rams stock before we got here, before the season started, the Rams stock was at least NFC Championship, right? Maybe Super Bowl. So to buy them, I think you're
Well,
saying you expect them to go to the Super Bowl, and that. I don't think Tony's saying he says the Redskins are going to the Super Bowl. He just likes them that they can make a run, and who knows what happens late.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Same with the
'Cause-
Ravens. I think you can buy cheap on the Ravens too.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately for the Ravens, they've got to play Cincinnati and Pittsburgh and a couple of times now. Now, the Ravens, they also get to play Tennessee a couple of times, which they're, oh my God.
Boy,
But anyway,
they were putrid.
But look how bad the Giants are. Look how bad the Cowboys are. And Philadelphia didn't just blow it up yesterday. The Redskins have a legitimate chance of being the division winner there.
I think the NFC East. I do believe
agree.
it's between. I said before the season, I thought the Cowboys, if somehow if they find a coach somewhere between like last year and this year, which apparently they didn't, but if they found a coach and someone that knows offense, they could end up being a 10-win year. Or if they end up coming back with the same coaching staff, which we knew they were, I thought 4, 5, maybe 6. They're bland. They're just so bland, and it's awful to watch.
come on.
So,
Here are your teams, Kevin. I want to hear yours.
Buy of the year. I'm going after 1 week, and I know Tony isn't a big fan of Mr. Andy Reid, but I'm all over the Chiefs and Pat Mahomes. Man, that offense looked good. Pat Mahomes can throw the ball 80 yards. We talked earlier about Stafford and Rodgers and how some guys just have an arm that can do it. And Mahomes has an arm that not many people can match. And we talked about it last episode, Dad, but Tyreek Hill is so fast. And Kareem Hunt didn't have much of a game. Kelsey had like 1 catch for 6 yards. Like their best players didn't even really touch the ball. And they beat a team in the Chargers, who I think is a decent team this year. I think they're very talented.
Chargers have a good defense. I think they've got one of the better defenses around.
I might not be able to buy as low as you guys can, but I'm buying the Chiefs. Any stock I can get, I'm buying.
So I'm going to support Kevin in that one, and here's why. What I said about Andy Reid. If Andy Reid realizes he's got a player in Patrick Mahomes that someone cannot scheme against, that he is physically better than anybody they can put against. He's had a player in the past for that. Yeah, I don't know who has Andy Reid coached at the quarterback position that had a physical advantage.
When it was Donovan McNabb. He had a hell of an arm to run. Donovan McNabb was a good quarterback.
He changed some stuff and he got to the Super Bowl and then freaked out. But anyway, I think he's got the same thing in Patrick Mahomes. I think there's it's one of those guys you see once in a generation. I don't it's too early because, again, 1 week does not a season make, but this kid can throw the football. He really can.
That's the thing that Andy Reid, we talked about. Alex Smith is a very capable quarterback, and Andy Reid was willing to part ways because I think he does see, holy cow, this Mahomes guy has something that you don't get very often. But the only reason
he's got legs too, right?
He can.
He's got some wheels as well. He is very athletic. Mahomes is.
The only reason I would want to, maybe if I could hedge my bets, I'm not going to, but if I could, the reason I would be Andy Reid does have a problem with getting out of his own way, especially if the game's close with 2 minutes left. He's going to call a boneheaded timeout, and
he's going to mismanage the clock.
Chargers,
he does it every time.
The Chargers were one completion away from taking that game into overtime. If you were watching it, they were one completion away. If Tyrell Williams didn't have skillets for hands, they would have been there. They just like Matt Nagy, they just can't get out of their way, and they're a terrible second half team. I've sat in Arrowhead Stadium multiple times watching Andy Reid's teams blow leads.
Yeah, and that's the only thing I'm worried about with him is Andy Reid going to just get out of the damn way and because there's talent all over the place, and there's still Eric Berry's back on defense. The defense wasn't great last week, but I am buying. All right, let's go on to the last one we'll go with, and Pops will start it off. But what team do you think is done talking about the
playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
What team is hoping they can just win a game? They're done talking about the playoffs. Well, who you got? And don't give me the Bills. Surely the Bills are the two of your answers.
It's not going to be the Bills. No, it has to be. It has to be different teams. And I hate to say this because I mentioned him earlier, but oh my God, what happened to the Saints the other day?
Whoa, that's who you're going with?
What the hell happened to the Saints? I thought they were a Super Bowl contender. I thought they had a good defense. They couldn't stop Ryan
Fitzmagic, baby.
Effing Fitzpatrick, for God's sake. What in the world are you talking about? I didn't see the game. Maybe I missed
real quick before Tony gets on. Real quick. So you're saying the Saints are done talking. You're crossing them off the playoffs.
Well, no, wait. Oh, this is the one. Are we doing that deal where we're crossing one off the list?
The team that is not talking about the playoffs. They're done talking about the playoffs. They're just trying to.
Well, then I'm sorry. Then I've got to say the Bills. The Bills are completely out of the playoff picture. They're
okay.
Out.
Well, you can.
You
can have that one, but that one's not fun to talk about. We've already done it. So I do want to get to what you were saying.
Oh,
yeah, he's a softie. Good Lord. He's bringing the hot takes today.
Well, you said if we're going to do the deal where we pick one that's out every week, I'm picking the Bills. They're out, OUT out. But the Saints,
what the hell happened?
Really, I took it more. Who shocked me? Who shocked me? I thought was going to be good and was not. And that was the New Orleans
Tony, you had
Saints.
A reaction. Tony, what do you think?
Okay, so the thing about the Saints, that was I almost want to say that was an anomaly. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have always played them. They've always had strange games. That was a strange. If you watched it and watched highlights, it was a strange game. There were plays that were just phenomenal plays that were made that probably will never be had again. Cameron Brate didn't even catch a pass. That should never happen again for Tampa Bay. And Ryan Fitzpatrick, he's one of these guys, just like
he does it every now and then.
Every now and then, he is a great 3-game quarterback. For 2 or 3 games, he's going to be great. Do you remember Rob Johnson for the Buffalo Bills? Got him in the playoffs, had 2 phenomenal games, made millions of dollars off of 2 games. Matt Flynn had a phenomenal game.
Matt Flynn.
Well, he cashed in on that game, too.
Yeah, he did. Ryan Fitzpatrick is the same way. He's just 2 or 3 games, he's going to be great. But for a season, he's not there. Jameis Winston's back. They're going to have to make a decision there. I think it's going to be bad for the team either way. But for that week 1 New Orleans game, it's a fluke. I think the Saints still make the playoffs. But their defense is not good. So they're going to have to go back. If Drew Brees truly does have the arm that he showed there. Now, again, Tampa Bay has the worst pass defense in the league. They've always had the worst pass defense in the league. So, Nathan Peterman could probably get a positive quarterback rating against the Buccaneers. But, I don't know that the Saints are completely out, but that was a shock. But again,
it was a shock.
Again,
that's what I answered it as. That was a shock. I'm not saying
you did say they were out. That's what the thing is. Playoffs.
No,
playoffs.
I did. Okay.
Playoffs.
Sorry, I take that back. Then I just was shocked by how badly they showed up.
Invited back. I'm sorry. That's good.
So I will say one, speaking of Fitzmagic, did you realize, I didn't realize, so you remember his first game when he came in for Mark Bolger of the Rams and threw for like 500 yards or some crazy shit. Did you realize that was
Mark
13
Bolger,
years ago?
wow.
That was 2005.
That's a pull.
He's been in the league
That
for
is a pull.
13 years. Yeah.
Mark Bolger.
Really?
I remembered it happening. I didn't think it was that long
Bolger,
ago,
wow.
though. I would have said it was like 5, maybe 7 years ago. Time flies. But
Golly.
I'm with Tony and you, Dad. Well, I don't know. You kind of sound like you're out on the Saints. I think that whole them scoring that many points, and I think that was not only an anomaly, that was an enigma wrapped up in an anomaly. That was insane. I think that defense is good. They were good all year last year. For whatever reason, I guess they just didn't show up. I don't know. It was weird. But Kamara's
So are you taking the Saints? Wait.
hell,
Who did
it
y'all
sounds
take?
like no, we hadn't got to it. We're just once you brought that up, I was just
You're just ragging my ass.
If
Okay.
anything, actually, that was interesting. I would be buying the Saints, if anything, right now, because I think if anything, their stock's low.
Yeah,
They're good.
They're
They're a
good
good
buy.
team.
Yeah.
There's just no
Okay.
way they're that. That can't be them, right? That's
Yeah,
not
I
who we
am,
thought they were.
Yeah, I'm going with the Saints on MyBookie.ag.
There's just no way. Yeah. So Tony, for real quick, for any of you out there, after you put in the JPP promo code, you need to stay. Whoever's going against the Jets in week 2, and whoever's going against and pick the Saints on whoever they're playing. But
No, whoever's going against the Bills.
but everyone's going to be there.
That spread will
Tony's
be
trying
too
to give
big.
you real winners.
Spread will be too
Tony's
big.
trying to give you a real winner.
Okay.
All right, Tony, who's not making the playoffs? Who's done talking about the playoffs?
It is my hope. It is my dream. It is my wish for the
Well, I can
Dallas
know where he's
Cowboys not to make the playoffs. So
I knew that was coming.
that was way too easy a lob, and I apologize. But you know what? Everybody in Dallas, everybody in the preseason, Elliott's back for a full season. Dak,
I thought the hype was getting blown out.
Des Bryant is out, but he was a cancer in the locker room. Jason Witten, we lost him, but he had lost a step. The defense is so much better, dude. Come on, that's a bad team. I know they're on the road with Carolina, and I know, but you score 8 points against anybody in the NFL with the rules that we have today, and you do not have an offense. Period. End of story.
Wait. I thought Dak Prescott's as good as what Cam Newton and somebody else. Who was it?
Quick,
I don't want to go there.
If Sean McVay had Ezekiel Elliott and Dak Prescott, he'd make them look like Todd Gurley and Jared Goff. I know the receivers aren't there. He doesn't have Brandon Cooks and
First of
Cooper
all,
Kupp and those guys. But I'm just saying the coaching sucks. But I do think, and it's one game, but I think people were all like Tony said, the hype was going out of control for Dallas. Oh, they got rid of the problem. But I think maybe it's 1 week, but maybe Dak year 2 was the real Dak, and Dak year 1 was the Dak that the NFL didn't know. It sounds like they learned what Dak is, and
I think you got a great point. If Dak Prescott played for Sean McVay, he'd be the second string quarterback. So if Ezekiel Elliott played for him, he would be he'd be starting. He'd be the starter.
He'd be the starter.
But
yeah,
I'm telling you right now,
Ezekiel Elliott only had like 16 carries, and they were never out of that game. They were never out. Like I don't understand how that guy doesn't have 25 touches.
Yeah,
that blows my mind.
Anyway, so for me, Dallas Cowboys. There's no reason to be talking about playoffs right now. No reason whatsoever.
I hope you're wrong,
that.
but I can't. I don't have an argument for you.
Can't
So, and I'll go with, and this one's kind of a lob. It's a little bit of a layup too. But I thought about the Seahawks, but I'm not ready to say the Seahawks are done because they do have Russell Wilson, and we've seen what a quarterback can do. And if Russell Wilson gets hurt, which I kind of think happens because he's just going to try to make too many plays, and there's garbage all around him. But until then, they still have a quarterback. I'm going with the other team in that division. God, the Cardinals suck. I think they're awful. I don't know if they were talking about the playoffs before week 1. If they were lying to themselves, but they can quit now. Let's just hope they win a game. And Sam Bradford, I almost say just go ahead and put Rosen in now. Let him get some licks because Bradford, you're just going to get him hurt.
Put him in,
leave him in.
Yep.
I mean, he's a sitting duck back there.
I will say this: Sam Bradford is one of those quarterbacks, and maybe y'all can we can talk about this some other time. But Sam Bradford is one of those quarterbacks that just got a bad break. Had lots of talent, good kid, could have been a great quarterback. Just got some really bad breaks. Got drafted at the wrong time.
He got the David Carr syndrome. He got the David Carr syndrome where he just got put behind no offensive line and no team. Right. I think they're good players. He did
make a lot of money though.
He did make a lot of money.
So much. we're gonna keep up with who we marked off the list and see. Dad's marking off the Saints. Wait, did you go Saints not making the playoffs, right, Dad?
No, I didn't mark. I mistook the question.
On.
If I have to mark off, I would mark. Well, okay, mark off the Saints. That's not what I meant, but I just.
No, okay. So who? No. It's Who would you rather mark?
If I have to take three different
Bills
teams,
for two different ones.
If I have to take two different teams, as much as I'm telling you, if I have to take two different teams, as much as I hate to admit it, the Cowboys are not making the playoffs. They're just not, and I hate it because I love the Cowboys, but I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired about bad coaching with the Cowboys. So
will they fire Jason Garrett? What will it take to get Garrett out of there?
Well, it's going to take Jerry Jones hiring a coach with some cojones. But every time he's done it, Jimmy Johnson, Bill Parcells, they don't last with him. I guess Jerry Jones is going to have to die, and Jerry Jones can run his team any way he wants, No, I'm not trying to hate on. I'm just saying
I thought Tony fired into Bill Belichick. My goodness.
No, I'll say this. Lifford's got a point. I think the Dallas Cowboys are at a point where the Oakland Raiders got Oakland Raiders without
Davis. Yes.
For 20 years, they have not been, I think it's been 20, maybe 50. Well, yeah, because Gruden was there in
10 plus, they've been not relevant.
Yeah, it's been 15 years that
15 at least, 15,
the
16.
Raiders have not been a legitimate contender for anything. The Cowboys are the same way until Jerry Jones either gives it up or a la Al Davis is not able to be there. Their Cowboys will not be a contender. I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, I agree. And we won't go too far. I know any Cowboy fan who's still sticking around, I'm hoping they have someone around to talk them out of this depression.
Because, just that's call what the it year, like you see it.
That's what the year has. Don't watch on Sundays. If this sounded bad for you, don't watch next Sunday night because I think the Giants may just beat them like a drum too. So
yeah,
it is what it is.
It's and that quote I sent you, that is such an alternative reality. When your owner goes on and says your quarterback is a combination of Jared Goff and Cam Newton. What game did you watch? That is ridiculous. I mean,
so I said I think Dak's as good as Jared Goff, but to say he's a combination between Goff and Cam Newton, maybe I was a stretch, but my God, that is an amazing leap.
He's more of a cross between Tyrod Taylor and Nathan Peterman. The dude can't throw the ball 25 yards into the deep out. I mean, he's got a freaking tight end wide open. The tight end is 6'5", 6'5", and he can't even throw it anywhere in that range. He throws it 2 feet in front of his feet. It's ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous.
No, but Dez Bryant was the problem. Dez Bryant was the problem. That's what they told us.
It's an alternative reality. Reality.
With you. Well,
I will tell you this, Kevin Lifford, thank you very much for letting me be a part of the JPP podcast tonight. I really appreciate it. I've had a great time.
Hell, it's been a hell of a time. I know LJ's going to have fun listening to this one. We're happy. We can't wait to get you back, LJ. But man, we had a good feeling with old Mr. Green, Mr. Bonehammer.
TG Bonehammer.
The Bonehammer's in the house.
And as always, if you didn't catch last week's episode, you can find it on our website at jpppod.com or on iTunes. If you hadn't subscribed yet, I honestly don't know what you're doing. You don't have to listen, just subscribe.
Hey, we need to ask Tony what he's listening to. I don't know. I don't have one, but we ought to at least ask Tony what he's listening to.
Well, I've been listening to some Prince.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, hey.
There's a surprise.
That's about as bad as Dad's Bills pick.
Yeah. Absolutely. That is absolutely correct. But I guess what I've been listening to is a little bit of gangster rap. I'm trying to figure out if I can get back into this. So just a little bit.
Anybody in particular?
So some of the newer stuff, or
no? I just I've started back and trying to move forward. So it was a little bit of a little bit of NWA, then a little bit of I got a little bit of old Ludacris, which I don't know if you want to call it gangsta, and then just trying to move forward. And I'm trying really hard.
Hey, but that's all we can ask. All we can ask is just give it a shot,
Yeah, got to give it a shot.
But Tony, we really appreciate you coming on. As always, Dad, it's good chopping it with you. I think for this week's episode, that'll do it. LJ, Can't wait to have you back. And Tony, we need another appearance. This can't be the sole appearance.
No,
there's got to be
this is going to be a recurring thing for sure.
Awesome. I'll be ready. And when you're
especially we got to, no matter what, at week 17, I got to hear you two when we see what the Ravens and we got to fill in on that.
The Ravens and the Redskins. That's right.
Yeah.
Hey, now just remember, for all those guys going out to MyBookie.ag, remember you're talking to the guy that had Loyola Chicago and Villanova in the final two last year. So in his bracket,
I don't know if you remember watching, but they got to the final four. This is our sharp on right now. This is the sharp TG. So, all right, I think for this week that'll do it. All right, peace out, y'all.
Peace. Wait a minute, now I lost all mine.
This is better now because I can't see Lippert. This is a great show. I hear him.
So not funny.
Okay, hold on. I'll be right back.
All right.